Next section to our session is going to be Jacob Daniluk with Tieline, the Kodak company. Jacob and I have known each other for a long time. Tieline's been a partner with Wheatstone for a long time in their Merlin products and some of their older products.
Hmm.
And recently with the Gateway, we've gone the extra step. So, Jacob Daniluk, I'm going to hand this section over to you, and we have a lot of common customers doing some really cool things, extending their
Oh yeah.
studios using our products.
Today I'm going to go over some diagrams because kind of as Darren's alluded to, there's so many different applications for Tieline products. We can help you get audio from point A to point B to point Z. You name it, we can probably do it for audio delivery. So what I have up here is just kind of a basic overview of all of our major use cases. This is not all of them by any means. So like on the left-hand side, you can start with our remote capabilities. We can get remote audio from a sporting venue, remote trucks, remote vans, mobile journalists out on the field. We can get all that audio back to the studio to MCR. We can remotely control all of those links, and then we can essentially output the audio via WheatNet IP, pull it back in. We can trigger relays and LIOs from the field to the studio, or we can extend the WheatNet studio from Studio A to Studio B in a whole nother city. So we can essentially kind of help you bridge that gap, if you will, with a handful of stereo links, as well as with a boatload of LIOs to be able to stream between the two facilities. So then on the right-hand side, we have things like your affiliate stations. We can help you with syndication. So if you have your Wheatstone audio, you're doing our talk show and you need to syndicate that out to 20, 30, 40 sites, not a problem. We can handle all of that over an IP network. One of our customers recently, we worked with them in publishing a joint article, Cochico Media up in Quebec. They decided to bring all of their syndication and distribution in-house. And now they're able to syndicate outbound with the Tieline Gateway system, running real-time redundancy across up to 4 links. And we'll get into that redundancy stuff here in a second. You can work with studio to transmitter links, of course. We can help you with backup STLs, studio to studio links, or the gateway itself can also be your IceCast CDN uplink. So that way you can just go straight IceCast or Shoutcast straight from the Tieline Gateway out to your smartphone, PC clients, or other Tieline codecs or other codecs in general that can decode HTTP feeds. This is kind of a mirror diagram of it's a crude drawing of kind of what Cochico has done here. They have their multiple studios. You have a studio at the top, studio at the bottom. Here they're both interconnected via a pair of gateways, and they're able to pass multiple stereo links between the two, as well as logic control. So LIOs, they're able to essentially control either studio from either location. They also have a handful of leftover channels on the Tieline Gateway that are idle. So those idle channels, we don't want those to go to waste. We want to utilize those resources as much as possible. So they've started to adopt like our remote equipment, like the Tieline Via or our smartphone app, Report It, and they're able to tie those right back into either facility that they see fit. And again, they can still pass LIO commands from the field using physical GPIOs tied into the Tieline system. And then we can output those via WheatNet LIOs back at the studio end. So we have seamless integration so that way your remote talent can control things like RCS remotely through LIOs and trigger them as they need to. And then last but not least, on the right-hand side, this is where the syndication comes in. They have multiple public internet links. They have a few private links as well. So they're able to take a single stereo feed and feed that out to a total of, I think in their case, it's about 10 sites per stereo stream. And each site has multiple internet links. And we're able to real-time recover data through hitless packet switching, which we call SmartStream Plus. Speaking of SmartStream Plus, because it's sometimes a hard protocol to describe for those who may not understand the concept of hitless packet switching. The idea is your remote unit here on the left sends across multiple network links, ideally different and isolated and unique links, We're streaming across the public internet. They're all taking different routes back to the studio or MCR. And then the studio Tieline receiver will buffer all 4 or up to 4 links at once per stream and will output you a single seamless audio feed out of the gateway into the WheatNet system. So you don't have to worry about spotty cellular connections or satellite links or spotty just cable modems. You don't have to worry about that anymore, utilizing our SmartStream Plus technology and picking up 2 or maybe 3 or 4 cheap internet providers. And honestly, 2 is all you need. We've extended it to 4 because we have some customers who wanted that extra redundancy. But in reality, since we're only talking audio here, 2 is what we have found is more or less ideal for most situations. But the other benefit with Tieline systems, because you start to see codecs everywhere here and there, with Tieline, we give you this redundancy protocol, but we also give you a failover capabilities too. So we can take our SmartStream Plus over, let's say, a wireless cellular link, a Wi-Fi link, and a LAN link all at the same time. And we can say, God forbid, knock on wood, if all 3 of those links fail, we can fail over to a secondary Ethernet or a secondary cellular link. And that can be a real-time failover. So even though you lost your major links, we can still keep you up and on the air 99.999% of the time with our system. We also offer things like bonded connections. We have several customers like in Alaska, the northern Yukon, middle of nowhere type scenarios where data bandwidth is just hard to get sometimes or reliably. So we even have bonding capabilities built into the codec where we will essentially round robin your data in a single stream back to the studio. So now we're able to get you a higher quality connection of audio back to the studio without sacrificing any quality that you want for that broadcast. But something that the Wheatstone guys did ask me to kind of go over a little bit, and sorry for the math and a lot of text, but sometimes it's best to just see the math in front of you and you can take screenshots, or there's a QR code here and you can just check it out on our website. We have a data calculator. But when it comes to bandwidth, because we are talking compressed or uncompressed data, Wheatstone is uncompressed links between their WheatNet environment. Correct me if I'm wrong, Darren, at any point, please, on that. It's linear audio between the 2. But now once you go over that public internet link, you may or may not be able to. It depends. I always say it depends on the links you're able to get. If you're able to get a dark fiber link, great. You can probably push uncompressed. If you can't, if you're stuck on a cellular link, you're going to need compression. So like Tieline, for instance, we offer everything from like AAC to enhanced aptX, G711, 722, the MP2, MP3, our own proprietary algorithms, and Opus as compression suite algorithms that you can stream real-time data to. And you'll see I put a little bit of the stats up into the left, but we can also do linear audio up to 96 kilohertz to pass up to 45 kilohertz throughput. When you're talking about bandwidth, though, there's 2 things you have to keep in mind. You have your max bitrate and your max bandwidth consumed. They are different. One is measured in bits per second. One is measured in bytes per second. One is about how your data carrier will record and report that data. They'll typically measure in megabytes or gigabytes of data. But when you're talking about data streaming, you're going to talk about bit rates per second, typically. So here's a few little ideas like Opus Mono as an example running in 24 kilobits, only requires 44 kilobits per second. Or if you convert that to bytes per hour or per day, you're talking maybe 19 megabits or megabytes per minute or per hour, versus if you go uncompressed on a per day level, if you had a 24/7 365 link running over a cellular network and you wanted uncompressed running at 96 kilohertz 24 bits, you're talking about 24 or 25 gigabytes of data. That's a lot of bandwidth consumed depending on your capabilities with your provider, because some are still metered, some are not, especially once you get into the specialized providers who can offer like quality of service or prioritized services or guaranteed bandwidth. They start to meter you on your data consumption. So when you're doing remotes or studio to studio links, you do have to worry about that once you go over certain types of networks. So it's just something to keep in mind. But to show you guys a little bit of like our integration and stuff, for those of you who have a Tieline, you might be familiar with this interface. It's our web interface. Very simple web GUI. And honestly, when it came to the Merlin, you had to use this to a degree and the Razor software to actually integrate everything. Nowadays, with the Tieline Gateway, which this is what this is looking at, we actually don't even have to go into the Tieline GUI to work with WheatNet. We can go directly into Navigator. So now we have full essentially Navigator integration to the extent of I can come in here, look for my Tieline gateway. I found my gateway. I can now build my audio I/O for my sources or my destinations. But most importantly, I give you 64 mappable inputs and outputs. And these are mappable. You can either have WheatNet control the Tieline system via logic, so you can tell us to connect and disconnect to specific studios or specific remote sites. Wheatstone can tell us to do that, or we can just give status alerts back to Wheatstone saying, hey, this channel's connected, this stream is connected, or this specific person using this specific device is now connected on this channel. And I can map all of that via relays. Or as one of the major use cases with us with Wheatstone is studio to studio sites. So when you want to cross from one facility, let's say in Arizona to New York City, you might not only want to pass your 8 stereo streams, so I can come in here and say, let's do an 8 stereo link here. Oh, come on. So I can say 8 stereo peer-to-peer. I can go through here, pre-configure all of the destination addresses for the same New York facility or the Phoenix facility or wherever. But then I can also come in here to my Tieline system here, and I can say, let's go into, control rules. And I can start making these what we call reflective rules. So I can essentially say, use input to toggle a remote output. So I can say I want a physical GPIO or the GPI1 physically on the back of the gateway to tie to a remote WheatNet LIO of 1. And now I can transparently send that across the stream. Or vice versa, I can keep it all in the WheatNet world. So I can come in here into virtual inputs, and then I can stream it back and forth between the two facilities as I see fit. So we have a lot of LIO control between our two platforms, but we also do have a lot of audio control between our two platforms as well. So if you need anything for like remotes or syndication, Tieline has you covered on that. We can definitely help you integrate that into your Wheatstone environment and help you get your audio to where you need it to go in a reliable format.